Hi, I'm Owen, the host of the Australian Finance Podcast. This podcast is proudly sponsored by BetaShares, one of the leading providers of ETFs here in Australia. Serving thousands of financial advisors and over 1 million investors, BetaShares manages tens of billions of dollars on behalf of investors right across the country. I'm proud to partner with BetaShares on the Australian Finance Podcast, Australia's premier financial podcast, because there is great alignment in the long-term philosophy shared by both businesses. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Australian Finance Podcast.
Zara, welcome to the Australian Finance Podcast.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me, Gemma.
Thank you for coming and crossing over to the finance side of things.
Yes, coming across from the business podcast.
Yes. So for some of our listeners, many, I would assume they're going to be familiar with your voice or your face if they're watching on YouTube. So Zara is part of the Australian Business Podcast, part of the Inflection Business Coaching
Group.
Yep. Great. And so I'm very lucky to have you here today as my co-host. And we're diving into business models that have been popular for a very, very long time. The reason that we're diving into this particular topic is, well, both of us, but recently there has been a lot of the community kind of reaching out, like chat on the forum. So there's the free Rask forum online, but also like questions coming in from the community, the podcast questions and things about ways to make extra income, starting their own businesses, all of this type of stuff, like cost of living, more and more people having to go back into the office, I think is also triggering people go like, where can I get that flexibility? So I think it's on people's mind. And I kind of assumed that this business model was kind of gone and dead, but I think it's on the rise again. I can absolutely see the appeal. So I thought we would talk about it, and maybe I've just been living under a rock and it's been well and truly alive this whole time. So we are getting into network marketing, which is also called like multi-level marketing, lots of different names for it.
Yes. Yeah. It's exciting. I would agree with you. I think there was definitely like a rise. I reckon when I was in high school, I know that like parents, mothers, it was like conversations of ways that they could get involved and start their own business. And yeah, I haven't really heard much about it, but now it obviously seems to be, I think you're right. I think with what's going on in the economic climate right now, everyone is interested in trying to find ways to be more flexible or to find extra cash. So I think it'll be a topical conversation.
Yeah, great. And I think also because social media, and we see a lot about online businesses and different things. And, you know, that might be referring to like affiliate marketing or different kind of services. But this, you know, this is one way also that people can make money online, but it can also be really predatory. So social media makes this obviously look really, really great, and you see the upside of it. But with anything, like if it's your financial decisions, if it's lifestyle decisions, especially business, like you want to go in with your eyes open. So I think it's really important to have conversations about what it is, what it's not, and maybe there's other alternatives that you can get what you're looking for from particular things that aren't actually what's being sold to you.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So if you're thinking, oh, this isn't relevant for me at all, chances are you know somebody that has tried to sell you one of these, is in one of these multi-level marketing schemes. You know, so I think it's about awareness. And I find that people are in two camps. They're either in the cult. I don't know if I can say that. They're either such fans of them, it's almost like a cult, or they're anti them. I don't really see too many people just kind of like sitting in the middle.
Sitting in the middle, yeah. I don't know if there's necessarily a fence to sit on in this domain.
You're either one or the other.
I think so. And I think particularly when it comes to business, potentially, I think maybe there's two different mindsets as well, or approaches that people might be taking. I think sometimes this particular business model can be exciting for maybe people that don't have the time or the business acumen or maybe the skill set to create a company and, you know, really go down that route. Maybe I think there's an element of like, it's a quick win, which, you know, Jordan and I speak about on the business podcast a lot. There's no quick wins. If you are wanting to make a change to your financial situation as a result of starting a business, it's a long-term decision, and it's something that you really want to get into with a long-term vision in mind.
Yeah. So let's dial back a few steps. So what a multi-level marketing scheme is it's where, and there's two things. So people get confused with multi-level marketing or direct marketing and pyramid schemes. Yeah. So pyramid schemes are illegal in Australia, but surely most places. So a pyramid scheme is where the recruitment is what you're paid on, like recruiting other people into the investment or the business. But the product is really getting more people involved, regardless of actually selling a physical product, right? So they're illegal. But multi-level marketing, direct marketing, they have the same look and feel of them, but why they're not illegal is because their revenue isn't actually you're not paid on the actual recruitment, you're paid on product sales. But if you look at it pretty closely, the recruitment, you have to buy the pack, and it's I would say it's a pretty grey,
area,
murky area.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's the difference. So multi-level marketing, direct marketing isn't pyramid schemes, but they look and feel very much like it, which is why I think they're a bit of a catfish in this area.
Yes, I agree with you there.
Yeah. So with these types of things, I would say, and I think statistics would absolutely back this up, they are predominantly female, stay-at-home or low-income earner, like targeted at as their consumer of the products, but also as the consultants or the business owners.
Yep.
They're the type of people. It's pretty rare that you see.
I think so. I think seems to be, and maybe it's just in my experience, a predatory kind of conversation around stay-at-home mums or women, or, you know, maybe like the primary child carer that has taken time off work that might be wanting to get back into, you know, earning an income. It does seem to be that that's a core demographic of the conversation or the consumers that they're targeting.
Yeah. And there's so many benefits that we all want that they're promising, right? Like work from home, flexibility, work your own hours, you know, uncapped income, you know, and then there's the cars and the holidays and things, like the perks. Absolutely amazing. But I think it's like anything. There's what the potential is, and then there's what their reality is. And that's what we want people to go into these things really, really clear on, that there's the 1%ers out there, and then there's the rest of us.
And I think like any decision that you make, knowledge is power, whether it's buying a property, whether it's buying a dog, whether it's deciding to have kids, whether it's starting a business. It is about getting as much knowledge as possible and seeking that information from different sources, not just the person that's selling you the product. It's like, you know, anytime you walk into a shopping center and someone's kind of, you know, handing you the little skincare thing that's, you know, out the front of the little booths or whatever, it's like you always kind of want to get that additional knowledge from people. If you're looking at buying a new washing machine, you don't just walk in and ask one person. You might then talk to your friends and find out what machine they have and all of those sorts of things. So I think it's the more knowledge that you can get, the better your decision making is going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And often you're recruited into these types of business models.
Yes.
Not cult, business models, by other people. And that's how they, you know, increase their income and things. And these are people, like, these are great people. They're people. It feels like a community. Like, they are selling the dream, and I honestly believe that they believe in the products and they're excited to be there, and they do feel all the amazing things, but you're buying into that one person as well. So that can, like, and it's like when you meet, you know, a financial advisor or an accountant, you want to feel like a connection. You can be a team and things. So imagine if you didn't gel with that one person that was selling you, would you still go into that company? Probably not. It's the person that you're buying to be in their team, and then you put forward that same, I guess, sales kind of pitch to recruit people into your team. Yeah, so it's like, so I see people seeking the income, the flexibility, but it's like the community and being part of something that's so glamorous. Like when you look at how exciting it's all kind of portrayed on social media.
And I think when you do kind of have those initial recruitment or just initial discovery conversations with that person, there is a big focus on community, and you talk about, and you know, you hear about how big the community is and how many people you get to network with, and that's part of the promise. Like particularly if you are in, you know, that situation I described earlier where maybe you haven't been in the workforce for a while, there is that community component and networking component that you might be longing for. And this is a really quick and easy way that's promised, I guess. Not that it's a way to do it, but it's promised as a way to kind of get that community.
And the business that is done for you here, like starting a business, finding a product, getting a marketing plan, like having your policies, procedures, pricing, like it's a lot.
It's a lot.
Having it all done for you, I can absolutely see the appeal. But what concerns me about this is people go in thinking that there'll be the unicorns in that, and that's amazing if you can be that, but most people we see in these do lose out, and you just want to go in with your eyes wide open.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So why these can... So we've talked about why they could be great if they actually worked. I guess talk to us about, we've talked about, okay, it's great because you're getting the product, you're getting the research, you're getting all the things, you're told how to sell it, like you're getting this business handed to you, which people are seeing like, okay, this is my chance to really take things up to the next level. That seems a lot easier than doing it all on yourself with no support. But what are some other ways to generate income from a business that you think are kind of easy steps? Because these people aren't lazy. They are so hardworking and passionate, and they believe in their products, but that could all potentially be put into something that they are doing for themselves that might actually work out a bit better for them. So like, what are other steps that you would just take if you were kind of thinking, I could devote X amount of time to this, and yes, I want to be on social media and I can promote this? What other avenue would you go?
It's a really good question. And I think whenever people talk about starting a business, I kind of say the most important thing is to have passion behind whatever you're doing. You have to be passionate, and you kind of have to have your why. And I think that's a really important part. But then in terms of, I guess, actually starting the business, it's you can either invest time or you can invest money, right? And starting a business from scratch on your own with zero support, it's probably more of a time investment because there's so much research, there's so much you have to educate yourself on. If you're looking at launching a product, then you have to look into, product laws, manufacturing, all of these kinds of things that are really complex. But then I guess what I typically advise people that, everyone has a skill set that is marketable and valuable either in the industry that they're currently working. But I guess what I really try and do with people, or what I really try and coach people when I'm doing business coaching, is to find a skill set that you absolutely ace and in your industry could be oversaturated, but find an industry that it's not saturated in. And just take micro steps. So take small steps. Typically, don't jump in with both feet, like dip your toe in the water first. If you can, you sort of want to start with, part-time or freelance, or, and freelance, I think sometimes people associate that word with like creative work, like freelance graphic designer, freelance marketer, those kinds of things, but you can do it in so many different ways. And so I think just start with a very small like time allocation and try and just kind of just test the water and see, is it a viable option? And that could be anything from, maybe going down the creative route, maybe you want to learn how to build websites, or you do marketing and you want to kind of branch into doing your own marketing work and starting your own company. I think just kind of starting with smaller, which, isn't enticing at first because it's going to take you longer to actually see the results. But they're probably going to be stronger foundations. Like you're probably going to have more confidence when you do take the leap. And potentially you're also, it's not as much of a financial kind of deep dive. Like you're not going to lose as much money because you haven't invested thousands of dollars in setting it up. And initially you can kind of get started as a sole trader, so you don't have company fees, you don't have to pay the company setup. You can just kind of start quite small. And then once you kind of see that it's got legs, then maybe you can start looking into, maybe you earn over $75,000 a year, and then that means you're eligible for, you start paying GST. But maybe you don't need to start thinking about that until you get to that point. And then that could be an opportunity for you to say, okay, well, now we can see like these stepping stones, we're going from, I've tested it, now I have to pay GST, so it's a viable business. And then we kind of go, okay, well, maybe we're making, maybe 5 years down the line, 6 years down the line, making a couple of $100,000 a year. Okay, let's set up a company because, the tax cap's on a company versus. So, I think there's just ways that you can do it. And typically I would say like a staggered approach to test the waters is a good way to go. And just think about what you're really passionate about, what you do really well, and see where that crossover is. I think that's really important. Because I do see sometimes people will start a business because they think it's a good business idea, but they don't actually care and they're not passionate about it. And the reason passion is so important and having that why is because you have to get up and do that thing every single day. And not every day feels good. Not every day is a fun day. Not every day has all of the, all of those flexible kind of benefits that you were talking about earlier. And it can be a real grind, but if you have that why and you have that passion, then you can kind of get through those periods.
I think that's a great point, because if we think about these business models, why they are so attractive to people that are currently out of the paid workforce is that flexibility. It's getting back into something that potentially they're isn't in their skill set, that they can't, they might not be able to go back to their full-time job or something like that. But I was very much, when I was burnt out from being a financial advisor, I was very much like an all or nothing mindset. I was like, well, if I can't be a financial advisor and I can't manage financial advisors, I have no other skills. But there were so many transferable skills that I just didn't think of. And then like even my ex-husband was like, you should talk to people about money. You don't have to give financial advice. I was like, that's not a service. That's not something. And I was just so black and white about it. And then when I actually overcame that objection that I was just like roadblocking myself, I worked out that there is just so many different areas that me as a financial advisor can actually work in. And I do so many different things now that I don't actually give financial advice that I was dead set that I couldn't. So I think, yes, people are going to things totally out of, like going to strategies like this, but they're not thinking about their skill set and what they can pull out of different ways and what they could potentially build for themselves that might be actually more sustainable, that they'll have more control over, that potentially won't be so predatory.
Yeah.
Culty. And also like, I will admit, like there's a stigma that comes with these, and and I think that that's probably fair because I'm in that basket. But I know they work for some people, but I think you need to be really, really careful about it. And when I see people start their own businesses from their own skill set and things, they don't seem to have, this is probably generalizing, and this is obviously my experience, they don't seem to have the pressure on them that these organizations put on you, even if apparently it's your own business, but you're not getting that pressure that then you feel that you need to contact people that you went to school with and haven't talked to for 20 years, or like do all of that kind of stuff. I know I was telling you like a funny story about, I had a money coaching client that I was seeing, and it was like the third time that I had seen her, and she got like booked in for another appointment and contacted me like, oh yeah, I need a money coaching appointment. And we were just going through like accountability on her spending. She's like, I need an appointment on Tuesday at 7 p.m. And I was like, oh, I can't do Tuesday, but I can do Wednesday at 7 p.m. She's like, great. So I send her the booking confirmation, like the invoice and the Zoom link, everything. And then about 10 minutes before the appointment, she sends me a text. I just sent you another link and a couple of friends are jumping on. And I'm like, why would I go on your link? It's my appointment. I've sent you all the formal stuff. I didn't really think anything of it. I was like, oh, maybe she just doesn't have access to whatever. And I'm like, oh, her friends must be interested in money coaching. I get on this meeting, there's like 4 of us and everyone's just chatting. And so I go, all right, should we get started? Thinking it was my meeting. It wasn't.
Oh no.
I was the guest.
Oh no.
They were, I can't even remember what it was.
Yeah.
I think it was a hair care product or something. And so I had the 3. So she had been recruited and it was her learning video, and the 2 salespeople were kind of like teaching her, and she had to bring a couple of people. And I was the only one that turned up. And I was just fuming because these appointments are paid appointments. And now I'm like, do I charge? Like, I've got my kids here. It's 7 p.m. I only do 1 late night appointment a week. And if you had have just talked to me before and said, I'm thinking of this, I would have been like, this is my stance on them. You're wasting your time with me. Like, maybe talk to somebody else about it, or I will only do paid appointments with you. Like, this isn't a friendship. Like, this is a professional relationship. I was pissed.
I mean, yeah, I would be fuming.
Yeah. And then I really struggled because I was like, I want to invoice her for that appointment slot. Like, this is my business. This is my livelihood and my time. And if you're going to be so disrespectful and sneaky, but I didn't, because I knew her financial situation. I knew how much she was struggling, and I knew that she would have been clinging on to any lifeline that she could. And I was like, I'm not going to send her an invoice because I know she will have just paid for this. But I did cut her as a client.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Because I was like, I can't. But yeah, so I can laugh about it now. But at the time I was just like, what?
Yeah.
How do you think that's okay?
Out of curiosity, did you sit through the whole meeting?
I did, because I was the only one, and they don't really let you talk. And then at the end they were like, oh, so what do you think? Do you think you could be on board with this? And what holidays do you think would work for you? And I'm like, I like have a full-time business and I'm not your target audience, and I don't really like these things. I was like,
oh goodness.
I was like, oh yeah, I'll think if I know anyone that would suit this. And I was just out of there.
You're so polite. I feel like I would have been like, after 10 minutes, be like, oh, I'm out of here.
I don't do confrontation. I think I had my phone up and I was like in the group chat with my girlfriends going, what the hell is going on? But you have your own experience with
I do have my own story. And it's interesting, as we were kind of talking earlier, just about some of the things that reel you in and the community. So I guess I had someone in my network, like in my friendship network, had joined this organization. It was like a cosmetics kind of company, quite a big company. I think it's a global company. And it was probably, I'm trying to think how old I would have been. I reckon maybe like 24. And this person in my network, my friend, had come and said, this is what I do. She'd been talking about it at an event, and it sounded really interesting. I didn't understand the complexities of it to the same, I guess, to knowledge that I should have. And it was, hey, I'm going to go and do this, come and have dinner with me, and then come along to this conference. Essentially, the conference is based on, how to earn extra income. It'd be great for you. You're at uni. It's just way to earn money on the side. Again, sounds pretty great. I was doing a master's degree. So I was like, juggling work. I was like, yeah, sure. Why wouldn't I want an alternative way to earn money? Selling a product with an existing kind of processes and systems in place. So I went along to this thing, and it was, there might have been, 30 people in the crowd, sit down. I think it was in Mount Eliza. Big presentation on the screen, and I'm just laughing because I just thinking back to this experience was like on the screen was like a Mercedes-Benz and like a hotel somewhere, and this like family looking super luxurious. And it was something like, this could be you or something. And I was like, whoa, heck yeah. Like, I'm a 24-year-old. This sounds exciting. So sat through this whole presentation. And at the end, my friend introduced me to her friend, who was obviously the level up from her that had kind of recruited her. Super lovely, really great community. And I kind of was like, okay, cool. Like, that's it. I'm going to go home now. I'm going to drive my hour and 20 minutes back home. I don't even know why I drove an hour.
Not in my Mercedes.
Yeah, not even in my little like Mazda 2 or whatever it was. And yeah, I'm just going to drive home. And I went to this thing and I had dinner with a friend and listened to something, but I'm probably never going to do anything about it. And I think it was like the follow-up steps that kind of guilted me into the decision, because I was like, oh, well, my friend wouldn't be selling me something or pushing something on me that wasn't good. And part of the way to get in was, you know, you had to pay it was a cheap entry fee. Might have been like $100 to get into the company. And that was to kind of set up your business. That was, you know, and I remember explaining it to my partner, my now husband, but my partner at the time. And he was kind of like, what do you mean you like paid it $99 and you have a business? Like, what do you mean you have a business? And I was like, yeah, I have a business. Like, I'm a business owner. Like, this is my business and I'm
an entrepreneur.
Yeah. And he was like, I don't get it. And I was like, it doesn't matter. It's not your money. It's not your thing. Like, this is me. I'm making this decision for me.
I think that's a lot of their marketing as well.
Yeah.
Is like your partner might not be supportive of this, but you need something for you. This is your community and they're going to be so thankful when you're bringing in the big bucks.
Absolutely. And so I kind of paid my $99 entry fee, or, you know, whatever you want to call it, business setup fee. And then obviously they say, you know, as part of it, you have parties and you sell the product, and part of that you get a percentage of the product sales, and then your manager gets a percentage of the sales, and it kind of goes up and up and up. But you can't have a party without product. So you can put a party on, but you need to have product to sell to people and to show people, because it's kind of, I guess, kind of like a Tupperware party in the day. It was like, you know, people put lids on and show you that kind of thing. You need to have
starter kit.
Yeah.
And most people are very genuine in the fact that they won't sell something unless they believe in the product and they've tried it. So of course you want to buy it to actually try it. Yeah.
But to buy enough product, you know, it was like you had to have the product, then you need to have the cleaner, and then you need to have the makeup wipes, and you wouldn't just get the face powder without getting the foundation, because you'd wear them together, and then why wouldn't you get the blush and the mascara and all, anyway, blah, 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 blah. I think I spent, as like a 24-year-old, might have been like $600 or $800 on this product set, essentially. My partner was like in shock. He was like, what do you mean you spent $600 on makeup? And I'm like, it's fine. I sell it. It's for the business. It's part of my showcase. People come to my party. I'll make it back. That's how it works. I remember telling my mum about it, and she was like, what are you doing? And I was just like, it's my business, you know, just kind of had that kind of like, I guess, pride.
And that's also where I see people get like ostracized from their friendship groups and things, because they're like, oh, you don't understand.
You don't get it.
And I have this community that understands.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it is a community, and the person that kind of recruits you into the company is sort of like, you know, checking in on you. But like within the first, I think it was 30 days of joining, you had to have a party. So I was like, okay, I need to have people over. And so I invited my friends over. I kind of loosely told them what it was about, but it was advised like, don't say it's this, but just say that you want to catch up with people and that you've got some product to show them because you've been blah, 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 blah. So I'd been using the product for 30 days.
So they really give you like the scripts. And they're like, if you say too much, they won't come. That's pretty concerning.
So it's like scripts of like who to contact, how to contact them, the best ways to contact them, what to say, if they push back, what your kind of responses should be. It was like a booklet that you could go through. Just if someone had this concern, then this is what you could say. If someone had this concern,
a lot of businesses do that.
Absolutely.
Like I worked for a big bank and we had stuff like that.
So I worked for Optus at like
that's support. That is great, but there are still some red flags here.
Red flags. And so my friends kind of came, you know, we did this thing. They got to play around with makeup and they're like, yep, cool, all right, see ya. And my friend who was there was like, okay, so now we need to follow up with people about orders. And I was like, I'm 24 years old. We're all at uni. None of us have any money. Like they just came and play with the product. And they were like, no, you had like quotas that you had to try and hit.
And you're like, I'm out of pocket now for all the cheese and wine.
Yeah. I was like, okay, so I've got $600 worth of product. I've paid $99 to set up my business. And I've just bought a whole bunch of cheese and wine and biscuits and I have nothing to show for it. And then, you know, long story short, unfortunately, after about 90 to 60 days of using the product, I had like a crazy allergic reaction. And so all of my skin started to peel on my face and I got rashy. Anyway, it was a pretty rough experience. And I just remember going to the bathrooms at uni and looking at my face in the mirror and was like, oh my God, what's happened? And my face was like peeling and red and flaking and just like horrible. And so I had to go and meet up with my friend and was like, I'm out. Like I cannot sell a product that is doing this to my skin. But also I think by this point I kind of caught on a little bit and I was like, I don't want to be involved in this. My mother-in-law felt so sorry for me. She bought all the product off me. She was like, oh my God.
And she put it like straight in the bin.
Yeah. She was like, oh no, like you're 24. You shouldn't have had to fork out that money. But yeah, so my experience, it's interesting that you kind of get looped in with a promise of something exciting. There was like that element of like pride and like community. I think it was like all of the steps from that point onwards that seemed not forceful, but it was like steps you had to kind of take within a certain period of time and you had to hit certain targets. And if you didn't hit certain targets, so, I made no sales because I was like, what am I doing? But then you have like consulting calls with the person that's recruited you,
like the training
calls, and
just
if someone says this, how do you respond to this? This is how you should be responding to this.
And that's when it makes it like it's really hard to back out because you're like, well, I'm getting the support. I should actually be doing better. And it's like, oh, well, I'm like got a responsibility to this team leader. Oh, it's
hard. I think it was the the rash and like this peeling skin that was my like, I'm out of here. But yeah, I think there's probably a lot of other reasons, but it's like a guilt that you kind of hold on to that you're like, well, I'm a part of it now. And because I'd invested that money, again, as a 24-year-old investing $600, who the heck has that? And so it's like,
that's huge.
Yeah. And so it's like, I've put $600 into this. I have to give this a go.
And I think there can also be shame around our decisions. So if your friends have warned you or been like,
what are you doing?
Yeah. And like, so your partner and stuff, you kind of want to prove people wrong. So sometimes we stay in a lane for way longer than we needed to because we're like, I'm going to make this work to prove you all wrong when we should just be going, okay, this was a learning. And I've totally done that with decisions in my life as well. Like, but this does work for some people.
Absolutely.
But I think there is, the unique people and then there is the most common people. So I guess what we want to take out from this episode is what are actually the alternatives? If you're thinking about doing this, I think the most important thing is, yes, that one person that is trying to recruit you might be amazing and you might want their life and to be their friend. But if they're not going to be your friend unless you're in their team, you probably don't want to be friends with them anyway. And I would look for resources outside. So you said actually something that was really interesting. You said, oh, my friend was doing it, so I just kind of trusted. Like that's like a herding bias when we see somebody else do something and we go, oh, I probably don't need to do as much research because, they're doing it. So, and that can be true. Like if we gel with somebody, we respect them, we like them, we see qualities that we want in them, we're more likely to be like, okay, cool, I won't do the research myself. But it is so important that you do your own research and not just the things that they show you because they're likely going to be the best performers in the company and the best case scenarios. But most of these companies, I think you need to have like an income disclosure statement for these companies. So you can see what percentage of people get paid at different ranks and all of that kind of thing. And, some of them won't be making back what the investment, I would say majority. I don't have the stats, but I'm going to
take a
assume.
Step. Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, I think in terms of, other ways that you can kind of start business, there's so many different ways. And with the internet now, there's so many different ways. Obviously, there's different tiers that depend on how much research, like e-commerce, it's a huge investment to get into e-commerce. You have to have a product. But, you can do things like something that's really popular is content creation. So it's like, again, if that fits into a skill set and something that you find desirable, then, you can start to build a business through content creation. You offer it for free to start off with, you hone your skills, then you start offering it, product for posts. So they send you something for free, you create a piece of content. And, nowadays influencers or, social media influencers can actually make a really good money on content creation. So there's just so many different ways you can kind of get into, I guess, I want to say legitimate, but it is a legitimate business, multi-level marketing, but I guess legitimate, long-term, sustainable. Ethical business.
Things that you potentially can go at your own pace without the pressure that you potentially aren't going to be at that speed for. But just go in with your eyes wide open. But yeah, so like we've touched on, freelancing, it's like the gig economy, right? Like there's Uber drive, like all of these different things that you can be doing. If you have the time to put into marketing for multi-level marketing, you have the time to be going and doing these things. So just find what works around your schedule. E-commerce, I could probably do a whole other episode on the predatory businesses that say, we'll give you the shop and the product and everything and it's $30,000 and like, anyway, we'll talk about that another time. I think, and finally, the last point that I wanted to add is don't be like I was. So black and white that my career was all or nothing and my skill set was all or nothing, because, we're talking about, well, what could you be doing on the side, or what could you be, learning about content creation or whatever. But potentially there are things that you could be doing in your job right now to slowly change your skill set. You could be on unpaid maternity leave or parental leave or something and doing an upskilling course or a free course in something else, or looking at, what's going on. Like, it doesn't have to be a quick win. I know that would be amazing to get a quick win of contribution of income into the household. And I know that's why these are so attractive, but it rarely actually is that. So like we want to be long-term investors, we want to be long-term income, sustainable income generators, right? So that might actually be going, I don't want to feel like this and be wanting the next quick win in a year or 2 years or 3 years time. So what can I do today that's going to help me earn more income down the track, and I'll just start today, even though it might not create more income right now. And that might be, upskilling, diversifying your skill set, learning something on the side. Yeah. But it might not necessarily be completely out of the range of what you're doing at the moment.
Absolutely. And I think having, for lack of a better word, like a strategy in place, or just like thinking about, have a few kind of like prompting questions of, obviously the goal is increased income or more income, whatever that kind of looks like. That's your goal. And then just say, okay, well, let's work backwards from there. Maybe you want to make an extra 10 grand a year. Maybe you want to make an extra 20 grand a year, whatever it is. And then just kind of break that down, because I think then it goes from maybe the desire of some of these kind of more promising sounding quick win businesses. If your goal is an extra 10 grand a year, okay, what does that look like over a quarter? Okay, what does that look like over a month? How can I kind of increase my income? And it could be through, additional skill set. But I think, just in my experience, one of my coaching roles was working with people that were shifting out of, they could have been working in biochemistry or something like that, shifting out of that and moving into digital marketing. And majority of the people that I was talking to were like, well, I've done this digital marketing course, but I've never had a job in digital marketing. How am I going to get a job? I'm just going to have to be an intern. And I was like, no, girl, absolutely not. I was like, you've worked in this role for 20 years. You've done this. You've done project management. You've done client communication. You've done team development. You've done team management. So there's all of these things that aren't directly related to quote unquote digital marketing or this new area that you want to get into. But there's so many, like you said, transferable skills that make you so much more employable than you actually think. And then it's just the on-the-job training that you need. And that could be, the upskilling that you do on the weekends or whilst you're on leave and those kinds of things. So I think if you are thinking about wanting to try and bring some extra income in, there are a lot of options out there, maybe that you just haven't quite thought of.
Yeah. And a lot of the time, it's who you know as well. So get connected to people, and talk to people about different roles. And I like when people are out of work, which is, where a lot of these people join these business models, when they're out of the paid workforce, we do kind of, like I've been on maternity leave, and you do kind of stop like being in contact with people in your industry and things, and you just go into like mum mode and you just see your mum friends. Like you actually should stay in contact with different people, and just to keep you relevant. Is that a terrible way to put it?
I think it's,
but also keep something for yourself, right? But
yeah, it's just the truth of it, to keep relevant, to keep on your toes, to stay, front of mind, because you might go on mat leave or parental leave for 12 months. so much changes in every industry in 12 months' time. And obviously there's a period of time where it's going to be really difficult to stay kind of connected. But once you kind of have some stability in your day-to-day again, trying to some degree, stay connected or up to date so that when you do decide, if you do decide that that's kind of an avenue you want to get back into the workforce, you're not trying to catch up on 12 or 18 months worth of history.
Yeah. I think, connections is huge. And it does, maybe you're reaching out to people that you've never spoken to before in industries that you're just considering. Like I have people all the time call me and go, I'm thinking about, doing a financial planning degree. And I'm like, don't do it. No. I say, yes, do it. But there'll be like teachers or whatever. And you just reach out to people and chat to them. And I think, if you found some people that were potentially in companies like this or had started their own business, just start talking to people. People love to share their experiences and they will help you. They'll guide you. They'll give you tips. You can take what you like, but don't take all of your information from one source that is making it look amazing.
And I think on the networking thing as well, like we are in a space now where with the online kind of platform, it isn't necessarily having to put on a face and get dressed and go to a physical networking event anymore. There's a lot of groups on social media that you can kind of get connected into, and it's just people just share updates and things that are going on, and it's a way
that don't cost you anything.
And they're free.
Networking events
can be expensive. And there's usually a sales pitch in those networking events too.
There's a fee that comes with it. Well, Zara, thank you so much for joining me. This has been really fun. A bit of a chaotic episode. We jumped around quite a bit. As I said, we're not for or against. We're just saying go in with your eyes open and make sure that you're considering all options. We would love to see people starting their own businesses, generating different income streams, whether it be investing, businesses, side hustles, whatever it is, whatever aligns with your life, but making decisions that with your eyes wide open with all of the information is really, really important, and having an exit strategy, I think, from day one is as well. But Zara, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks so much, Gemma. It was fun.
Thanks for watching this video on the Rask Network. While you're here, don't forget to like and subscribe so you can get videos each and every day on business, finance, investing, and so much more.